Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thanks so much for joining me here. Going to jump on in here to Gala, take a quick look at that, and before we do, we'll look at Bitcoin as well, kind of see what's evolved here so far over the last 24 hours. It does appear that the potential support level at 60,000 is now a resistance level. So unfortunately, Bitcoin definitely lost that, so we're likely going to be trending between 58 and 60,000 for the next couple of days. We may even drop below 58,000, and once again, we have a pretty decent support level right around 52.5. And that was once more basically a previous high before the El Salvador candle, right? Furthermore, too, I think if you look at the 4-hour chart, we can see the GAN fans kind of just telling us that that would be a potential place in which the price will intersect eventually if it comes down and continues in this channel here, right? So unless we can break above, which it doesn't look like we are, doesn't look like we can break above this level here. We're going to probably be stuck in this lower quadrant and kind of just keep working ourselves down. So it's going to take some time to kind of work ourselves out of this hole, for lack of better terms. Okay. Another thing too as well to note is that we're below both moving averages. We have the potential death cross coming into play that could push the price down even further, and that could actually break that support level of 58,000. So again, still bearish on the short term for Bitcoin, but long term, I'm still very bullish. I still think 80 to 100,000 is very likely this year. I don't see that being a problem. So taking a look here back over at Gala, let's go ahead and get on in there. And what we do, we always work away from the 1-day chart all the way down, so we can kind of get best perspective. Best practice is to kind of look at the big picture, right? So again, if you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, just know that this is for educational purposes, right? But I just love teaching people how to become better traders. That's why I have a trading community, in addition to a signal group where I share every single trade that I take with my members, so you can kind of see what it's like to be in the day in the life of a trader, because I do this every single day for work, right? This is my job, this is my passion. So looking here at the 1-day chart, normally we'll look at the moving averages. They're a little bit trailing behind. So ever since the 10th, the price has pretty much been ramping back up, right? So Gala got pushed down a little harder than it should have. And ever since Bitcoin sold off on the 10th by 10%, we see that increase sharp from Gala. So that's great news. We're up over 70 on the RSI as well. I love to see that. Normally you'd think that, okay, over 70 is a sell signal. Not exactly. A lot of these bullish continuations, you want to sell when the price is coming back down on the RSI, and more so on the 4-hour than the 1-day, because the 1-day chart, RSI over 70 is basically just telling us that that's a new support level, and that's really all we need to look at it as, right? RSI on the 4-hour chart is a little bit different story, and let's take a look at that. In fact, we're up over 70 here, so once it starts trailing down, right, effectively once it comes down and hits 70, that's typically the case in point where you want to either trim or sell your position. That's just the general concept of how that works. Not to say you shouldn't sell now or take some profits, because I think that'd be advantageous considering we are up, about almost 80% in only 12 hours. That's quite a lot of movement, right? It's going to have to come back down because that standard deviation is too high. Again, crypto will surprise you. There's never a sure science, right? But generally speaking, this does appear to be fairly overextended. But also note, we got this period of consolidation here, this nice little 4-hour candle that was a doji candle. And that basically says that there's a state of indecision. And with that indecision, the bears were unsure if they wanted to sell or not. The price keeps going up, okay? Just bear in mind, they're going to want to take their profits. No pun intended, right? So that's going to happen eventually. It's just inevitability. And you want to be on the same side as the bulls or the bears, right? That's the whole point of being a good trader, isn't to control the market or predict it. It's to understand what the market is doing and who's controlling the market and what they are looking at, right? That's why these charts are helpful. It's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Anyways, regardless, we look into the MACD, nothing to really note there. It kind of got a bounce there. We didn't get a bearish divergence. We effectively got a bullish convergence, for lack of better terms. Let's look at the 1-hour chart, see what's going on here. We're above the cloud, which is nice. We also had the price break above the span here. Yeah, so we've got all bullish qualities here. So there's really nothing I see here on the 1-hour chart that tells me that we need to consider selling until we get this lagging span here up over closer to the price action. But the bottom line here is this blue line. Basically, it's the faster moving average, for lack of better terms. It's still above this orange line, and that pretty much gives us the indication that it's still considered a bullish territory. So once these two lines intersect, so to speak, and this blue line comes down, then that would be a case in point where you'd want to consider selling. But neither of those two things have happened yet, so we've still got really good momentum here. Bear in mind as well, TD sequential got a nice little reset. So look at that here. See what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got up to a 9, right? And if you're unfamiliar, TD sequential is a really awesome sequence of numbers, basically taking the fourth previous candlestick and counting higher up until you get to a 9. And when you hit a 9, that's a state of exhaustion where the market should turn around, right? Or it should at least consolidate. It attempted to consolidate for a moment here and or retrace, right? Kind of came down. And then it shot right back up. So for lack of better terms, it had enough time to calm down and relax, where according to TD sequential, we got that reset. And now that we have that reset, we hypothetically have another 5 to 9 hours of bullish momentum. So this literally could keep pumping for another 5 to 9 hours. And even further, too, honestly, I've seen it go past that. So not trying to hype you up here or get you too excited in that sense, because I prefer to be more realistic. But in the sense of the fact of the matter is here that we have a nice doji candle on the 4-hour chart. That tells us that little state of consolidation, which we see right here, was just enough to be able to allow for the price to continue to leg up. Therefore, we could see a continuation of another 5 to 9 hours, and that's a very, very positive sign. Now, how much higher it will go, it's going to be hard to say. We're going to have to take a look at a couple of things. But for the most part here, we can tell that, Gala is here to play, right? I think it's definitely going to be taking off. There's a lot of other factors too. Keep this in mind as well. I think it's getting introduced to other exchanges. I think if I looked up correctly, Huobi, they just adopted this. It just started trailing on or tracking on their exchange about 24 hours ago. I'm sure if you got some information on that, comment below so we can all learn from it. I apologize, I don't know that specifically, but I know that a lot of my community members are investing here. They are mining this coin, and it's a really cool, scenario, and I just need to learn more about it. But I can tell you right now, based on the charts, I'd be surprised if the price didn't continue to increase. All right, so let's go ahead and see how much longer we have left in this little scenario here, right? Get somewhat of a prediction, call it a day, and get on our way. So we'll take the lowest point here recently and work our way up for Fibonacci. What we'll do is we'll just go ahead and go to the most recent high, because this is still establishing itself, so I don't want to mark it up there because it'll just keep going, right? So what you do is you take the most recent high before that, and then we can kind of estimate how much higher it will go before it reaches that state of wanting to turn back around. So there's a few different levels we could see, right? So best case scenario, we might see 27 cents. That is a strong likelihood at this rate. I would not be surprised if the price keeps going to at least 27 cents, or I would say more so to the max of 27. It's making some moves though. So 27 cents would be kind of, I would say, a potential best case scenario, right? Because we're going to reach a state of exhaustion soon. There's no doubt that even though we got that nice little reset, another 5 more hours of this, it's going to be maxed out. That's just my personal opinion. That's how coins typically work. Or if nothing else, it'll be maxed out temporarily, go sideways and leg up again. But we can never be too sure. So what I recommend in scenarios like this is just keep moving your stop loss higher as it keeps reaching new goals. Because the likelihood of it, crashing down and then coming right back up the same day is pretty low, right? So if you, heaven forbid, you get stopped out and you take some profits, it shouldn't go much higher. In fact, it shouldn't go much higher than where it's at right now. That's just my opinion based on simply, 80% in 12 hours. That's quite a lot of growth, and we need to understand that it could and very well likely should slow down soon. But as we can see here so far, it's kind of maxing out temporarily at about 21.7 cents, and then of course 27.6 cents as well. Okay, so that's, again, this is the best case scenario. Let me go ahead and mark that. So 27.6, I think, is probably the strong likelihood. The strong likelihood of the best case scenario is that what is 27.6 cents in approximately the next 24 hours. So we shouldn't see more than 27.6 in the next day, at least this candlestick, for example, right? What we could also see is the fact that because it's kind of testing and rejecting right now, right at about, it's the Fibonacci retracement line of 1.414. So 21.7 cents is also a pretty good place in which we can see the price is getting stopped out. Okay, so we'll mark that. We'll also go ahead and mark the previous resistance level, which was obviously how we drew up this Fibonacci retracement in the first place at 17.5 cents. That is a likely candidate for a strong support level moving forward. So if the price were to come down, we could see 17.5 cents as a strong support level. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. There's a small little support channel here as well. We could go ahead and mark. That's a potential. And I just say, why don't we mark them all to be on the safe side here? Because there's a good chance that it's going to start working within one of these channels here. And I apologize, there's not much you can really do when the price keeps going up like this to try to estimate specifically where it's going to reside. Because right now, again, we're halfway through that state of exhaustion. So we're not maxed out and we're not bottomed out, so to speak. So it could very well continue higher. But again, it does feel like it's overextended in general. 12 hours, 80%. That's a lot of growth. So just keep that in mind. But within these channels here, we just want to kind of pay attention to them. So what I might have to end up doing is covering Gala again later today or possibly early tomorrow. Cover it, again within 12 to 24 hours. Make sure we kind of reanalyze things because we don't have enough data, so to speak, at this point to truly identify where it's going to kind of stop, right? I can tell you what best case scenario is, 27.6 cents. And I can tell you what, worst case scenario, the likelihood of it coming back down to test support of 17.5 is also likelihood, right? So we got this 10-cent range, which is quite significant. That's probably like a 40 or 50% gap that we're not quite sure yet. So just please understand that. There's not much else you can really understand there. We got some other support and resistance channels back here. Well, they're all support now. We won't worry about that for the moment, but I think in big picture, we could, we'll take a look at that later if it comes down to it, right? But for right now, let's set our sights between 17.5 and 27.6 cents for the moment. So again, better case scenario, 27.6, if it keeps pumping, just move up your stop loss as you go higher. Also consider setting profit targets just below these Fibonacci retracement lines. So in other words, instead of 23.7 cents, do 23 cents even, or 27 cents even instead of 27.6. Those are good considerations based on the simple fact that Fibonacci retracement lines have a tendency of hitting right at that exact point and then either retracing, where you may or may not get filled if you put your target at that exact same line. Because that's what the industry leaders are doing. They're getting filled quicker than we are because they have bigger positions. So there's different scenarios, but that's where we're at for Gala so far. So I'd say, by week end, it's probably pretty safe to say that 27.5 cents will be a likelihood. But I do feel like we're a bit on the overextended side right now. I usually like to wait until the price comes back down to the next major support level, either 17.5 or 20 cents even, and then go ahead and add to my position. That's usually the way that I like to play it. So, be careful, be smart, and if you need a leg up in the industry, feel free to join me in my Patreon community, of course, where I actually share signals for every single trade I take, and it's an awesome, amazing trading experience. If you want to become a better trader, right? I've been trading for over 15 years and this is my passion. I truly do love this. So thanks again for watching. If you don't join, that's perfectly fine. I do look forward to getting to know you better if you do. But if not, either way, go ahead and follow me on social media or just essentially make sure that we communicate in any other way, shape, or form. But keep watching the videos, learn as much as you can, and I hope to see you in the profitable future. Thanks again for your time. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.